Live in effect. Mark, y'all able to get on?
No, I'm not on Instagram.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You,
Yeah,
I forgot. You just make your special your special
I make a guest appearance.
your guest
Yeah,
appearances. That's right.
cycles,
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
Instagram cycles. There's six.
Mike, you able to get on, right?
I'm
Can you hear
cutting
me?
in and out a little bit. I can hear
Okay.
you.
Can you are you able to get on your IG in the phone?
Connect to this though.
Yeah, just
Oh, there we go. Okay, I see. I see.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
just
there we go. Okay, okay.
and just yeah, there you go. And then just request to join and Mark won't be in here, but we'll still roll anyway. We'll just, they'll be able to see it on the other end. So it's all good.
Okay, great, great, great.
Let me get my okay, there we go. You sneak there we go. Oh the books look even better that
Yeah, great.
from that angle. Mark, you're missing it. You're missing it. Telling you.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Definitely. All right. Woof. Another day. I'm very happy to have these great individuals here. Known some of these individuals almost most of my life, and some physically, and some on the other tip known them a while too. Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. We're you said I've read all the same books. That's what Liam said. Yeah, I know Liam did read my book. Polka Dot Rabbit podcast here. As we are one of the main purposes here is to uplift humanity. We're in a day and time in which, like I was talking to them earlier, in which we need to keep on duplicating good people on this planet because we all have to live together. You know what I mean? And these individuals here, in some way, through their works, through their documentaries, through their books, through their coaching, they're all duplicating um, and making other good people. They've worked in themselves individually, just like we all have here. All of us have worked in themselves individually, had their ups and downs, their trials, and all that good stuff in life. And now they're at the point in which they can teach. Um, and that's why the whole premise of this whole thing was, if you win, we all win. Because if we if you take the time to become the best person, and you do that, and you share that with the world collectively, we can evolve. We can get this collective consciousness to a higher level, and make this place a beautiful place like it should be. This planet Earth. If you haven't already, please pick up polkadot rabbit podcast.com, the book. And people always ask me, like, prime example, how could I have such a diverse selection of guests frequently? Because I had a very interesting life. You know what I mean? Just like everybody else, we're gonna get into everybody else here, I should say. We're gonna get in that later too. But that's it for me. I'm gonna let everybody go ahead and I know they can't see Mark, but Mark, go ahead. I'm gonna let you go first. Go, please explain who you are, what you got going on, and what do you do?
Well, I'd like to start that story. Uh, Zoe and I used to play little league football together. You know, what
Sure
was it,
did.
35 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah. Probably
Uh,
what 13. Yeah.
yeah, went
13.
to went to the same
13 years
middle
old.
school, and we were on the wrestling team together in high school. And thanks Mark Zuckerberg has helped us get back in touch when I was on Facebook. Yeah, so that's part of my story. I turned 16 years old today. I know, quite the beard for a 16-year-old. Professionally speaking, I turned 16 years old, professionally speaking. So 2007, January 17th, I started coaching full time. I've been doing that since. One of the co-founders and head coach of Enlifted. We certify coaches in a specific style of mindset development. We specialize in helping coaches do it for themselves as well, and then with their clients, dismantle the victim mentality. We're known as the language people. If we have a rep, it's that. Yeah.
That's interesting because, like, I was talking to Mark because he gave me some free lessons from his what's the name of it, the website, Mark? What is it?
Core language upgrade. Is
Yeah.
that what you took?
No, no, it was the
course?
initial one. Let's
Vocabulary.
yeah,
Vocabulary.
vocabulary. Yeah, vocabulary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one you gave me. And I didn't realize, until I took that course, how to around the bush, to get my point across. And this was some powerful information, man. And that Mark, I mean, I know we talk about this time, but just taking that one course made me realize how much in my language I was beating around the bushes instead of getting straight to the point. You know what I mean? And I can only imagine, what you got going on now after, from even from vocabulary on. So I know you're turning out some great students, man. So I'm gonna move it on to Allison. I'm gonna get back with you, Mark. Go ahead, Allison.
Hey, I'm Allison Pelot, and I am into. Well, I'm a new author, fairly new. My book's almost a year old. It's called Finally Thriving, and I originally met Zoe years ago. Your brother Kenny went to college with us, and that's how we met at Radford University. And and Mark went there too, which
I
was
went to
really
Radford.
cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I know, isn't it nuts how we and then I saw Mark and Paris on your podcast and I was like, "Oh, I need to meet those guys." And so that's how I got connected with Mark. And then Michael was in a class with me called The Artist's Way, and I met him that way. So it's so really interesting how we all connected that way. And so but I help people align their mind, connect with their body, and then learn how to listen with their spirit, all aspects of wellness. That wasn't me.
That was an accident.
So-
Mark pulled a fart trigger, just so you know. He got
I've got a fart machine, and it accidentally went off.
yeah, he got a
I left it on.
That's
y'all have to
hilarious. That's
understand.
perfect
Y'all have to
timing.
I'm
understand.
turning red. Look at me. That never happened. Sorry, y'all.
That's a
Oh,
part of
man,
the
I love
with
it. I love
his
it.
students. So
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's one of the tools Mark uses. I've taken Mark's class as well, and it was amazing. He used the fart machine many times. But and it's just a reminder not to take yourself so seriously. That's what I loved about that whole contraption and his sharing that in the class. So that's part of my thing too, is like I teach people how to not take life so seriously, how to make mistakes. Being in the fitness industry for years, being a gymnast, a competitive gymnast, most of my youth and into my young adulthood, I was really in a competitive mindset most of my life. So I learned through various things, like with Mark, and then through the Artist's Way, how to really learn how to make mistakes gracefully and have fun with that. And so I teach people how to change their mindset so they're not so hard on themselves all the time, and so they can start to open up to new ways of being. That creates new opportunities for you in your life, and it also creates better health. So we bring it all into it together through aligning our mind, connecting with our body, and listening to our spirit to bring in a healthy body, a life that you really live intentionally, that you want to live intentionally. Maybe you haven't thought about it yet, but this opens up the gates to that higher level of thinking and creating. So that's what I help people with.
Mm.
excellent. Yeah, I read Allison's book. It's amazing. I mean, if you know anything about life, we're all students of life, so you can always learn something every day from other individuals and, their experience and etc. So, kudos to you, Mark, and Allison for doing what you do. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I appreciate y'all trying to, duplicate and replicate making good people on this planet.
Mm.
All right, my man, Mike, go ahead and
Mm.
tell the people what you do, what you got going on, my man.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Interesting group you've assembled here, and yeah, Allison, I really love what you said about, like, these different things, like opening the gates, into like deeper kinds of most effective ways to expand our consciousness and to for me to go buy books instead of heroin. And yeah, so I track, and I thought I was gonna. My goal was to be Steven Spielberg. I was like, I want to go and like do the big movie thing. I'm gonna like climb this Hollywood ladder. And then after 5 years of being in LA, I really realized how much that culture was not for me, and I didn't want to be in that environment. And I wanted to do something else that was, because of what I've come to have actual evidence for, that I saw kind of in a felt way back then, was that, you know, even if it seems like movies that they know there's an audience for. So nothing that comes out of like mainstream content creation is going to be like past the boundary of like where the current consciousness is. And like, that's what I'm interested in, is it's like, what's on the next level? Like, how do we keep pushing the edge of like where consciousness can go? And so I went and made this documentary called The Cosmic Giggle.
Should we tell him?
Yeah.
Which am I like cutting out like crazy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can, I mean, they can hear you in
Is there-
IG, but you
You're
there
an
any way you can get
IG
to the-
perfectly.
yeah,
Okay.
it's probably that your computer. But go ahead. We'll get
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll try to get through it. But yeah, so I made The Cosmic Giggle, which the wonderful Mark England was in, helped to spark this whole journey. And yeah, and then since working on all these film projects, you know, my original goal was to try and convey something powerful to people. But then what I discovered in the process was that I got to get exposed to all these amazing teachers and like leaders of different kinds. And so I absorbed a lot of this information.
Now, you know, I'm gonna go back to, I know the people can't in IG can't see Mark, but y'all can flip on, if if you want to see all of us, go to YouTube. The link is in, I think, the story, so you can go there. But I want to talk to Mark, because I dealing with language, you know, and the way people use language, you know. So how do you take control over your language?
First things first, know there's a game to play.
Mm-hmm.
Know that there's a game to play, and that you have options. And so when someone begins raising their awareness of their language, this is an understatement. It's usually quite a shock as to what is actually going on with how their language influences them. And when I talk about language, I mean internal dialogue and external dialogue. What we think, what we say, what we write. And there's a very personal relationship to the words that we use internally and externally, and how we see ourselves. Starting with a working definition of mindset is it's a good place to start. Mindset is talked about very frequently. Okay, great. Let's keep doing that, and let's add some context to it. So when most people talk about mindset, it's this big picture thing that they know they need to get better at. There's that confident person over there. Wow, that looks fun. I'm over here. Whoops, would have been nice. And then you ask them what is mindset, and they're like, well, it's your mindset. Yeah, but what is it? And it's, well, I mean, it's your mindset. Here's a working definition, folks. This helps. You know what mindset is in the enlifted system, the enlifted method? It's the story you tell yourself. That's it. So we're all telling ourselves a story to ourselves about ourselves. And guess what that story is made up of? Words. Words. And well, our man Alan Watts said it. When we learn to think about our thinking, we become alive in a new way. I love that quote. I'll
Mhm.
say it again. When we learn to think about our thinking, we become alive in a new way. Now, most people
Mhm.
are not thinking about their thinking, they're
Mhm.
thinking. And they're taking that voice in their head as the voice of God. Of course, it's right. It's my own voice in my own head. I've got it right the first time. Of course, all of this is true.
Mhm.
And what we're a big component of, so to answer your question very specifically, how do we learn about our words? What do we do? Write it
Mhm.
down.
Mhm.
Whatever, write the story down, get it in
Mhm.
writing, get it on
Mhm.
paper.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's the kicker though, look at the words instead of believing what you wrote. So if someone writes something down, Jordan Peterson said there's no difference between thinking and writing. So if someone writes a story down and they allow themselves to believe that first draft as
Mhm.
truth, as an accurate interpretation of whatever it is, whether it's a goal or a story of what's happened to them,
Mhm.
um, they're leaving a lot on the table.
Yeah.
So what we are big fans of is getting stories written down and then changing words, improving the combination of words, breaking spells, casting spells.
Yeah.
Um, and I can go, as you all know, I could talk for the next hour on that, and I'm not. So my first piece of advice is to start a journaling practice and
Mhm.
learn about what words are going to force you to script the victim mentality.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'm I want to get back to that victim mentality. So hold on there. I'm going to stop you there because I want to get back to that
Yep.
specifically in a little bit. But Allison, okay, I'm going to jump to you real quick because, all right, I was there when you decided you wanted to write this book. But what was just your motivation in writing the book? I mean, what was it? How did that? What pushed you to wanting to help people?
Yeah, well, it was a couple of things. One was it was the nature of the time we were in during the pandemic and the lockdown,
Uh,
seeing all the information out there that was misguiding people, in my opinion. And
mm-hmm,
I wanted to put out some information and some experiences that people could have of themselves to begin to understand a little bit better how they could empower themselves by, connecting with their body's natural technology. And
mm-hmm,
also, like Mark is saying, really empowering yourself by becoming aware of what you're doing, what you're saying to yourself, what your inner
mm-hmm,
dialogue is, what you're saying out loud to other people. Because oftentimes it's not true. I realized that within myself. I was saying all these things, but when I really asked myself the question, is it really true? The answer was no, because I was still in a little bit of a trauma response as it relates to even socially in my head.
mm-hmm,
I felt that, there were just things that I needed to say or do to be accepted or fit in. And
mm-hmm.
so when I realized I was doing it because of that, and I was really changing my reality because of what I was thinking and saying, I decided to, you know, immediately flip the switch on that and just start saying what I wanted and thinking what I wanted and thinking more like how I wanted to experience myself and how I wanted other people to experience me. And I love what Mark brought up, because writing actually, when I started to write the book, what that was also doing was it was bringing the subconscious into the logical part of myself. So
Mhm.
kind of it's a very it's a great exercise for bringing your right and left brain together so that
Mhm.
you can bring up what's hidden in the subconscious out into your field of awareness, because
Yeah.
oftentimes these things you're not even aware of, even though you're
Mhm.
thinking them or you're feeling them all the time, but they're in the background. As Mark
Yeah.
likes to say, they're books on the shelf, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I realized is that when I started writing, I was like, oh, I just need to get this stuff out. It's been in me for so long. And
Mhm.
it was a healing it was a healing process for me as I started writing, which was a surprise. I didn't realize that was going to be the case. And I was also getting out information that I'd been only giving to just one person at a time through coaching. And I hadn't really had the opportunity to give bigger in that way. So that was another motivation for me, or inspiration for me, to write the book, is that it just felt so good to be able to share that.
Mhm.
So that would be my answer for that one.
Yeah, it like in your experience, and just like I know we talked about this numerous times before, but when we all were going dealing with the time of the scam, as some folks like to call it, you know, and seeing all that, like you said, the misinformation, all this, like what was your vision of like a utopic type of reality that these people, that um, they were they were being brought all this fear, all this fake information, all this stuff. Like in your mindset, what were you kind of like? What where would be the best way to give them give them hope, for a lack of a better term? The best give them hope dealing with being human, being alive now. You know what I mean? Like what would yeah? Could you kind of build on that?
Yeah. So one thing I noticed was a lot of people were outsourcing their health through in the name of fear. So they were really
Hmm.
scared. So they just reached out to whatever they were being told, or what they
Hmm.
needed, felt they needed to do. And that happens anyway, but it was even more amplified during that time. So um I think that what really wanted to bring to the table was a way for people to be able to empower themselves in their health on their own. Like, all these
Yeah.
things are free, all these things that we have naturally can be accessed very easily,
Hmm.
and just
Yeah.
by even just connecting with nature.
Yeah.
So I think that the hope there is that people begin to realize the power they have within themselves, because I
Yeah.
don't think it's been realized fully yet. But I think
Hmm.
we are in the midst of that. I think there is
Hmm.
we're in a special time right now where I think consciousness is rising, and people
Hmm.
are starting to wake up and realize things. Maybe not happening as fast as some people would like, but it does need to be a gradual process, especially for people who haven't really gone into that area of their lives before.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's kind of like the Matrix. You're pulling, you're now they're seeing what it really is, and it's not that it's like as horrible as a Matrix, but it's just like, oh wow, like the things that I
Yeah.
thought were real are not really real.
Not really real. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
And
Yeah.
so
I think about that a
my
lot.
hope is that people will start to see the opportunities and the power that they have within themselves to make a change in their life, that um, where they can make their own decisions, and they can
Hmm.
live their life with intention, and also have the audacity to start living by their values,
Hmm.
because I think
Yeah.
that's important too. Because sometimes we're
Yeah.
just scared. We don't have the courage to do something different because no one else is doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the norm. And now, Mike, I'm gonna jump to Mike with that kind of Mike. Mike and I, we talked a lot about it. I mean, even Mark and I talked a lot about psychedelics and etc. And it's a very interesting story, and it's real interesting because a lot of the individuals that I know, and these you're looking at three of them as well, in their own right, that I know that has experienced psychedelics and has changed their life tremendously. I'm jealous still, Mark, of that story you told me when you went out in rains and you just saw a field of mushrooms everywhere. I was like, I'm still jealous at that experience you had, but that's a different story. But I'm gonna talk this to I'm gonna take this to Mike, man, because I know we talk about Baba Kalindi a lot, and you talk about like how your psychedelics experiences have really motivated you. So how does this all tap into, you know, group thinking, consciousness, and elevation dealing with, psychedelics? Oh, yeah, again.
Every time you
Go ahead.
start talking, Michael,
Now we can hear my IG. This we roll with an
you're
IG.
frozen again. But
You got it. Go ahead, bro. Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. 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 I agree. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I'm gonna kind of it's interesting because I'm kind of gonna go back to the other tip when it comes to the body aspect, and I'm gonna talk to Mark about this because I know Mark talks a lot about breathing, and and Mark, I'm not sure if y'all know, but Mark is a martial artist. Martial artist. He went to what? He went to Thailand to train to be a kickboxer, you know, and we all know how important breathing is. You know what I mean? But Mark, can you kind of talk about how important breathing is just in life and conveying yourself? Like talk about the importance of breath.
Uh, my business partner, Adam Chin, said once upon a time that if you enjoy being you, then you've won. If you win, we all win.
Hmm.
And it's really hard for someone to enjoy being them or comfortable in their own skin when their breathing mechanics are wrecked.
Mm.
And most people, their breathing is trapped in their chest. And in my personal and professional opinion, that's because we've got a glitch in our language. Most people's language is working against them, unbeknownst to them, because I alluded to this earlier when I went on a mini rant, as I tend to do. Um, there's a lot more to our language than regular spelling, grammar, and definitions, which is what most people, that's their education in middle school and high school and even college. So what we do is we help people use their language to help them stay focused on what's important, keep the drama low, build themselves up in their imagination, and unlock their breathing. We're known as the language people. We might as well be known as the language and the breathing people. And push comes to shove, it's about the breath. So when I work with someone, I'm there to not know the answers for their life and what they need to do. No, not at all. Why would I even want to know that? I'm there to create space and clarity. And a lot of that comes down to helping them unlock their breath. Most people's words, their story is keeping them in a stressed state. There's flavors of stress. You know, there's grief, there's resentment, there's bitterness, there's sadness, there's anger, there's indecision. Okay. I'll talk about that later too, because I get, this is my 319th podcast I've been interviewed on about this one topic, how our words influence us. And I'll tell you all where to start a little bit later if that would help fill in some gaps. And this is an interesting fact, okay, which I forget which one is number 2 and number 3. Allison, you'll find this interesting. The most the second and third most commonly purchased over the counter medications are indigestion medications and constipation medications. And in my personal opinion, that's because their breath is trapped in their chest, and when someone's breathing like shit, guess what? They're not going to do all that well. Digest their food and then poop. So, file that under one of the other reasons, many other reasons to make some improvements, adjustments in the words you use and the stories you tell yourself. Your breathing will unlock. You'll be able to see things more clearly. You'll digest your food better. You'll sleep better. You'll be a better conversationalist. Okay. When someone's breathing well, you're a good listener. Breath trapped in the chest means it's called amygdala hijack if y'all want to look it up. Breath trapped in the chest, your listening skills go way down. And it also puckers up your butthole. So you're not going to poop all that well. And you're going to have to go to Walmart and purchase some, I don't even know what the medications are, to help you digest your food and then get rid of it. Yeah. And yeah, you'll like the way that you'll even sound better. When you're breathing well, you sound better. So yes, I deliver all the certifications for Enlifted. And I do a little bit of one-on-one coaching on the side, very niche presentation skills. And one of the first things we talk about is rate of speech. When someone slows down their rate of speech, so that's something that you all can do, tomorrow, today. When you're talking with someone, slow down a little bit and see how that feels. It usually feels better because you're breathing better and you'll have better rhythm. You'll have better timing. There's a lot. There's a ton of reasons, and a little bit more on that tangent. So people say things like, "Oh, I have social anxiety disorder." You mean your breath is trapped in your chest? I get really nervous when I go and meet new people. Same thing. Oh, you're breathing in your chest. I get really anxious when I think about giving a presentation. You mean you're holding your breath in your chest? Um, you unlock your breath and you'll resolve a lot of weird stuff that you didn't even know was related to it.
Yeah. No. No, that was I was trying to soak in all of the rant, saying so
I
it's
own
all good.
unpuckered.com. I mean, this is like I was surprised that I got the .com.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, but that's real talk though, man. Because like
real.
and I remember, and I think Mark, we talked about this. But I remember for years, even though I was training, wrestling with karate, years, I literally didn't start to learn how to breathe properly. Maybe like 8 years ago, man. All the time I'm sitting there running, I was breathing incorrectly. You're like, damn, I can't get my wind. You know what I'm saying?
I
I'm
lived that.
sitting
I
there.
lived that.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? You sitting there training and you're training hard. You're like, man, my wind's so bad. But no, you're just not breathing right, man. And the life is in the breath.
Yeah.
The life is in the breath. Um, so I'm gonna kind of go a different route.
Can I say one
Because
more
I
thing about
know,
this, Zoe?
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Considering that who's on this panel, when
Hmm.
someone is breathing better, as in low and slow,
Hmm.
low and slow breath, low and slow creates the flow, high and tight creates the fight.
Mm.
Okay. When someone unlocks their breath on top of a number of other things, you know what
Hmm.
it's a lot harder to do?
Mm.
Scare and manipulate them.
Yeah,
When someone's breath is trapped in
Yeah.
their chest, you can just poke them
yeah.
with
I can
with a
see that.
story or some
Hmm.
kind of something boogie monster from somewhere. Get them to jump and direct them and make them all run in a direction. It's very
Hmm.
hard to manipulate people when they're. It's very hard to manipulate people when they're breathing well. Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that because it gives a certain. I'm assuming it gives a certain amount of a clarity and calmness just in that as well. So it'd be able
Sovereignty,
to just,
yes.
yeah, you'd be able to just think more rational instead of just somebody like, just think about this, especially being a martial artist. If you go around a corner and somebody jumps at you, you're not gonna say ah and just run away. You know what I'm saying? Some people might do that,
I
but
hope not.
yeah, exactly. As you know, in training, seriously, it's like a martial artist. You gather yourself, you're breathing right, you assess the situation, and you deal with it. You know what I mean? And that's like a perfect example, and I could see how that all connects to what you're talking about. Um,
Mm.
but I'm gonna go to Mike on this one because I want to talk about a lot of us have dealt with a lot of stuff in our life. You know what I mean? A lot of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Traumatic experience, and I'm trying to like what is what? Let's talk about like the heart frequencies and like being able to recognize traumatic and memories and how to deal with that. You know what I mean? What are
Mm.
some ways to that can assist? I mean, how best ways to deal with that?
Mm. Mm. Yeah, great segue. Is like anything that's like tapping into deeper access into the nervous system in the body. The fastest and easiest way to do that is through breath work. And I mean,
Mhm.
I listened to the podcast that you did, Mark, with starting to do Wim Hof method. Mark also introduced me to the Wim Hof method, and I would techniques you can. It's like hit all the bases and close off all the energy leaks, because I think we can have so many ways that we make little justifications for like, oh, like I eat the energy gets leaked out. And like all of these patterns that we take on, they may seem little, like it may seem like these little behavioral patterns. They're anchored to moments, and if you think back in your life, like if you think back in your life, like there's certain moments that like pop out. It's like, man, like that time that happened, you know. I started telling a story like at that moment when I was 4, like I but to like my little kid mind, it's like, okay, that became the reality. That scarcity then became the reality. And that's just a little moment, you know. You wouldn't think of that as like a trauma, but it's like then that becomes a part of the story of who you are. And then all of these techniques we can talk about, whether it's the ability to rewrite our nervous system and rewrite our consciousness to create a different kind of reality.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I actually kind of want to go with Alice in some of these ways. So like, like dealing with your book specifically, like what are ways that you um you empower the individual? What are ways that you empower the individual to quite simply become the best version of themselves?
Well, I'll continue this conversation with breath, because breath has taught me so much. Connecting with
Hmm.
my breath has taught me how to direct my energy, where places in my body are still holding restriction. I learned from Mark. I took the coaching sessions with him. He showed me all about the slower talk and the breathing slow and low, and then I got into singing again after that, and it just, that even took me to a whole new level, and I just loved it because I'm continually opening up areas in my own body, in the rib cage, the diaphragm, a lot of the places, the throat, hips, all of these areas are things that we hold a lot of tension. These are areas we hold a lot of tension in. And like Michael was saying, and I hate it that he keeps going in and out because he's saying some amazing things. I'm loving it all. But he was mentioning that, when you go through childhood, you go through these they can be traumas, they could just be like a misunderstanding as a child too, like you could take it to heart. And then you store that memory or that emotion in your body, and then it actually manifests as restriction or holding. And so for me, I was holding my breath on a micro level. Even I more than like more I was doing it a lot when I was younger, but then I was starting to get it, to improve it as I got older and I get into this breath work and all the coaching and everything. But just recently, I've even been able to get it to a whole new level with it, where I've actually been able to even let go even more fully in my breath and relax, and like I never thought I could before. I didn't even know that was there until that deep seated emotion of just feeling safe and trusting came through for me. And then once that happened, I felt like, oh my God, I can really breathe now. Like I hadn't been breathing before. So sometimes we don't even know that we're not breathing properly too. It just kind of has been the norm for a long time. But the thing is, the key is to start to explore that, and then test it out through speaking, through singing, through talking, breath work. All these things are really helpful for that. So I would say voice is one of the biggest things that has really impacted me and my own empowerment. And I feel like that is true for many people. And that's one thing that we do bring into the class. I bring in Fiona, who Mark knows, and she does a guest speaking thing there where she teaches everybody how to express themselves through their voice. And many people are actually very afraid to do it. They don't think they have a good voice. And I would say every one of them has a beautiful voice. Another thing I've learned is that we all have a very unique sound, but we haven't really been taught how to accept and love that part of ourselves, because we've been taught that singing only sounds a certain way and you have to hit these certain tones. But no, it's so much more than that. It's your sound. It's unique to you. So exploring that through breath and through vocal toning, I think, is a great way to start, because then it doesn't matter what you're saying. It's even just making a sound that can be very empowering, because you're expressing that breath. You're taking that breath into form. So for me, that was personally the most empowering thing I've been through lately. And it has increased my ability to breathe and to let go. And I think, like with breathing, it's so funny because we keep telling ourselves, we got to let go, we got to surrender, we got to let go. But if we're not actually doing that physically in our body, and feeling it and trusting on an emotional level, it's really hard to do that.
I got a story about singing, if
You
that's okay.
do?
So
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
I'd love to hear it.
yeah. And before that, did you all know that people take on average 200 sighs a week?
Hmm.
200. And that's the average person. That's because the breath is trapped in the chest and the body's like, hey,
Mm.
jerky, give me some more oxygen.
Mm.
All right.
And yeah, and Fiona, she's fantastic. So I'm over at Good Foods Grocery over in Stony Point off Huguenot Road, Zoe. This is about 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm walking out with some groceries and I look over and there's a music studio and it says singing lessons. And I go, I'll take some singing lessons. And so I put the groceries in the car. Since this is about breath, this is about voice, sound, vibration, and this is fucking spooky. I hope it's okay to drop an F bomb. Um, and so I go in there and I get a 6 pack of 30-minute singing lessons. And I come back like 3 days later in the first session, and we talk for a little bit, and then she's got a piano in there, and she hits a note. She goes, match this note, and she hits it, and I try with my voice, and I go high. She goes, you went high. Try again, and she hits the same note, and I try again, and I go low. She goes, you went low. Try it again. She hits the note and I match it pitch perfect. And God's honest truth, some physical thing in the middle of my head snapped like a pencil. It goes, and I just think to myself, I go, oh no. And because I feel the tears coming from some
Mm, mm,
core eternal place in my body,
mm,
and I go like this and I shut my eyes, and it wasn't boo-hooing by anything. It was the exact opposite. These tears of joy just start streaming down my face, and she thinks I'm upset, I'm like ashamed, and I try to, she's like, it's okay, you're safe. I know I'm safe. And I'm like, I just the tears. And finally I was like, that was one of the most weird and magical experiences I've ever had. You're so right, Allison. We all have a unique sound, and people think that it's the singers are over here, and then it's everybody else. And you can only sing if you've got Pavarotti's voice or Beyonce's voice, and if not, you can't. Don't even open your mouth and get better, because that's not what they did. It's not like they started where they were and got better.
Right.
mm.
That's a good point. Like they haven't worked at it.
Say something. I don't know if I'm still cutting in and out. But yeah, like going off of that too, like back to what you were asking originally, Zoe, to me about the heart frequency stuff.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting starting to do this internal alchemy martial arts. So
Mm.
there's like outer martial arts, which is
Mm.
fighting, but the all of these martial arts grew from these Shaolin monks way back in the day were doing these exercises for they develop these reflexes from doing that, and then they get good at fighting, and like all of these like fighting schools grew out of that. But when you start to study these internal alchemy stuff, you don't really focus on the heart. It's not like you're trying to channel energy into the heart. It gets like a certain energetic gravity to it, which then fortifies the intestines and the kidneys, and that fortification then creates the space for the heart to just open on itself, and then the are caught in these loops where it's like we think about what we're going to say, the internal dialogue. We
Yeah.
like think, we craft and we script ourselves, and then we try to say something cut off from the heart. But when we're breathing down low, then the heart can open, and then the energy can come just straight out of the heart and out of the mouth, and you don't have to think about it.
Exactly. Yeah, we edit
Yeah.
ourselves all the time, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and we the people that we're connected with miss out probably on 90% of our gift, that we are here to share.
Hmm. Yeah, no,
So,
and yeah, no, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier about, well, both of y'all, well, everybody been saying just programming, you know what I mean? And just being inside of and being inside of this matrix and not realize that you're a victim, you know what I'm saying, of being inside the matrix. And this is going to segue into something I'm like I said, I wanted to talk with Mark about earlier and well later. Um, the victim mentality, because all of us, we have a certain amount of ego and pride, you know what I mean? We think that we're this and that, earlier in the game before we start to find self, and I was talking to Mark, um when we reconnected, and he started telling me what he was doing, and he started breaking down the victim mentality, and I was just like, even though I've accomplished a lot in my life, I think that the ego and the pride wants to hold on for the victim mentality, for I don't know what exactly it is, but it likes to have it like hanging around. You know what I'm saying? And after I spoke to him, I spoke to Mark, and he was just like, we were just talking about the victim mentality, about, because he told me his story about when he cracked his knee up, and he was, he thought, woe is me and all this kind of stuff, and then he was just had to literally kick himself in the ass to get out of the mindset. But Mark, if you would kind of, could you go into detail about the victim mentality and ways to get out of the victim mentality?
Happy to. Uh, a guy that's been very influential in my life, good friend, and we co shot an online course together, Mike Bledsoe. He called me a one trick pony, and he called me that more than once. And I thought and still think that that's fantastic, because all I got to do is one thing, and that's this. So for the umpteenth, hundredth time, I'm going to recite the definition of the victim mentality. If you all listen, everybody that's listening, most people have never heard the definition of the victim mentality. And so that it'll put you in a unique category there. And I invite you, if you've got a pen and a piece of paper, write it down, because I'm going to say it slow, and then I'm going to say it fast, and hit on some points. So if you write down the definition of the victim mentality, you are now in an exclusive club, and it'll help make more sense about what I said initially, that there's a game to play, and you can use your words to dismantle this thing, which will also unlock your breath. The victim mentality is an acquired personality trait where a person tends to regard himself or herself as the victim of the negative actions of others, even in the absence of clear evidence. The victim mentality depends on a habitual thought process and attributions. I took a little bit out of the middle. That's the verbatim definition. So here it is a little bit faster. The victim mentality is an acquired personality trait where a person tends, it's a tendency. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. They tend to regard themselves as the victim of the negative actions of others, even in the absence of clear evidence. Yes, we'll make shit up from time to time to prove ourselves right, even when it hurts. The victim mentality depends, underline that word, as in it has to have a habitual thought process and attributions. Habitual accurately implies duration and addiction. So the drum roll question is, that second sentence is right between the eyes, right where it belongs. If the victim mentality has a habitual thought process, also known as certain words put together in certain ways, that it has to have it. It has to have it in order to be scripted and maintained. Then me and my simple mind over here, I want to know what the words are. What words force me to create victim centricities in my mindset, in the story I tell myself? What words force me to see myself as the recipient of negativity um, from others? What words force me to play the victim? I want to know those words. And guess what? We know those words, and we also know what words to use more of in order to dismantle that thing and unlock your breath and go out there and enjoy being you more than you did, you know, before. I mean, I ruined my fight career because I was the story that I was fueling my fight, um, my martial arts practice and the fights. I had a handful of MMA fights. Was I'm going to prove them all wrong. I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to show them. Show who? Prove who? Those people aren't thinking about me. I'm making these people up in my mind and stressing myself out and holding my breath while I'm practicing hard style martial arts. That's going to go real well. That's going to go real well. You're not going to tear anything. You're not going to break anything. You're not going to have 2 knee surgeries and a jacked up arm. And yeah, so soft talk. That's what I'll talk on next when it's time.
Yeah, no, that just going
This
inside,
is a
man, and
big deal,
being
folks. This is a big deal. The
yeah,
victim
no, it
mentality
is,
will
man.
wreck your breathing.
Yeah, man. It could wreck your being, man. You know what I'm saying? Because just like what you're saying, just dealing specifically with your own story. Because you can look in your mirror and you can see yourself as the greatest thing ever, as opposed to the exact opposite, and just being a piece of crap. You know what I mean? And like, if you're trying to be successful in life, man, you gotta have, you gotta be able to see yourself as being able to be successful in anything you do. You know what I mean? As opposed to the opposite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And
that's
you got to have the words that will help you see yourself in those ways.
yeah,
We're talking about
yeah,
spells, folks. The definition
yeah.
of a spell: a word or a combination of words of great influence.
Hmm.
Um, um, uh, Everybody has it so much easier than I do. That's a
Hmm.
combination of words that will greatly influence someone in a negative way. Great things happen when I show up. That's a combination of words, constrictive spells, expansive spells.
Hmm.
So we're into breaking constrictive Luciferian spells. Yes, I just said that, and casting expansive spells that help you kick ass.
That's it. I mean, no, and see, that's a beautiful thing. That's why another reason why I wanted to bring these individuals together because it's real interesting to me because we're all around the same age. Literally, we're all in the same age, and we've all traveled the world pretty much. We've all experienced different places, different people, you know, and I think that we have a very similar outlook when it comes to life and how this place really can be as far as being like we saying humanity getting the shit together and getting to the next level when it comes to group think as opposed to the fear mongering, all this, all the negativity that we see, and it manifesting into this reality as this world we're living in, as opposed to something as simple as self-talk, getting us to realize how great we are, how we can connect the source, how beautiful this place can be. And unless people say it collectively, we'll never get there. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Because we have to like Mark was saying, it's a spell. We got to put that energy out into the universe to make things better. And we're healers, man. You're teachers and healers of the stuff that has been wrong for so long. So I applaud all y'all, man. Everything you did, your books, everything y'all doing. I tell people all the time, if for all y'all extraterrestrial lovers, like if y'all want to see an intergalactical confederation, then somewhere in a spaceship somewhere, and they're having a meeting. This is we're all representatives of different star constellation. I'm from Orion. Allison, I think she's a Pleiadian. Mike, you're Aldebaran. Mark, you.
Mike's a
Mark Breen.
librarian.
You're
I'm a librarian.
what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
say? Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Lemurian?
But
Did you say Lemurian?
I said librarian.
Just kidding.
yeah. But but in all honesty, we're all, because of our experiences, we're going to look at life differently because we know this place is much more than it really is, and it can be such a beautiful and great place. And like I said, I applaud all y'all for what y'all doing, and we just got to keep on like doing teaching people, duplicating good people, duplicating good information so people to elevate. So I just had to say that right there. Um, I'm trying to think. Oh, Mike, since I'm talking about the extraterrestrial thing, I got I gotta talk to you, man, because I know you about this, man. Time travel, man. Time travel. Let's talk about that, man. Like let me ask you this: once you take your LSD or your ayahuasca or your mushrooms, your 85 gram dose, once you take that and you start to go to these levels, do you feel as though that and once you're transcending levels, do you feel that that is time travel, or is it just like how? And that's the start of the question. But go ahead and let's talk about more in the depth because I know you're really into time travel. I want to hear you talk about that as well. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think it's interesting just because dealing with the avatar here, you know what I mean, and the true essence or entity controlling the avatar here from a remote location, possibly. You know what I mean? You can call it the higher self, but still, it's like once you start to transcend these levels and the dimensions, you realize that it's more than just mind, body, soul, and that's it, wrapped into a human body. It's way more than that. You know what I mean? It's way more than that. That's just like the elementary levels. And man, that's and Mark, if you, I want to,
Can I add to that real quick?
yeah, go ahead, please, of course.
In my book, I talk about parallel timelines because it's a
Hmm.
Buddhist principle that they also have believed forever. And the whole thing about time travel really is, it's not, this can happen on for healing too, like Michael said, with it's in the now. So in this plane of existence, in the denser dimensions of reality, yes, it feels like there's time, but when we look at the etheric field or the quantum field, there
Hmm.
actually time doesn't exist like
Didn't
we know
exist.
it
Yeah.
here. So anything can happen in the now. Like you can heal parts of yourself from the past in the
Hmm.
quantum field as well, or in the
Yeah.
ether. So that's a way, I guess, of time traveling. I think how we think of time traveling is maybe not, it's not fully understood, but I think that's a way that we can also change our timeline as well. That happens a lot as too, as you become lighter in your body, in your emotional
Hmm.
body as well, and in the density that you hold. As you become lighter there, you can actually, with the way you're thinking, like Mark's talking about, getting out of victim mentality, that can switch your timelines. And so I
Yeah.
think Michael was talking about having, there's different versions of us. We
Hmm.
have different, we're multidimensional, and so we do
Hmm.
have other lives that we could live. So you're actually choosing the timeline that you want to
Yeah.
be
To
in
participate in.
with
Yeah.
your thinking and with your
Hmm.
speaking. So that's how powerful it is.
Yeah.
And it's not
Yeah.
like
No,
this
it's.
is some
Mhm.
crazy notion. I mean, it's been in Buddhism for a long time. They've talked about
Mhm.
this. So, but yeah, I think it's really cool, though, if we can start opening up to that a little bit more and realizing how much power we have in really shaping our reality from that standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. I mean, the architects that run this place now in this matrix, a lot of the stuff they're talking about, they've just had this information passed down for years. They've been using it all against us. So it's even more of a, it's much more of a reality to see people executing it, to the highest level, and a small group of people at that. But but Mark, what do you're I mean, you're
Maybe
Yeah, he
yeah,
is.
yeah, I think he
that would
is.
make
But
a lot of things make more sense.
yeah, yeah, it would. Well, what I was gonna say is that dealing with like the the mushroom trips, you know what I'm saying, and being able to transcend and traverse, how did that how did that how did that all connect in, and where you specifically able to connect with a lot of this information you're able to convey now about, you know, the language, breath, and how did it, really assist you in, getting you where you are with this information?
Oddly enough, um, the psychedelic journeys that I've gone on, um, they didn't give me any revelations into
Mm-hmm.
the language, um, because our our words influencing us, um, is self-evident, in my opinion. And what here at Enlifted, we worship on the altar of simplicity. I don't need any psychedelics for me to be able to pick up a pen and write down a couple of paragraphs about something that's bothering me, and circle some words that are forcing me to take things personally. Uh, so having said that, what the psychedelic journeys that I have gone on, they have given me the opportunity to identify, breathe into, and relax areas of my body that I was unaware were holding tension and tightness. Okay. Um, and it also, so I used to, from 2009, 2010, for about a year and a half, I was an ibogaine service provider. I administered ibogaine, which you can look that up. That's a very intense uh, journey. We were doing 3-day administrations because that's what it took to get people in and get them settled and through the process and you know uh, it made me appreciate the simplicity of this work because that's some complicated shit. And it was over my head. What was after I did about 50-55 administrations, I came to the uh, very real conclusion that I'm going to let somebody else do this because this, like I said, it's over my head. Um, and I'm going to stick to the words. So in an interesting way, it showed me that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
What you meant to do? Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That was more so the revelation than anything else, huh?
Oh yeah.
Stay in your lane. Stay in
Oh
your
yeah.
lane.
Yeah. I'll take 90 minutes with somebody on a Google Doc with some stories that they've never written down. That makes sense to all three of y'all. uh, Rather than 3 days of barfing up God knows what energy from where
Yeah,
and then the
I can see
aftermath. It's
that.
just it's just too much.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
I can see that.
I'm way too simple of a person for those things to be administering them.
So, and I'm gonna kind of jump in this way. I'm gonna go back to something you were saying earlier, like dealing with um, a big thing is changing your story, like you said.
Hmm.
Changing that story that you have of you being a low life, a bum, you can't do nothing, you know, all this kind of things, whatever the case may be. Where where does someone start? If they want to go ahead and change that victim mentality, that negative narrative, how do they start? How do they start that change?
Yeah, soft talk. So,
Mhm.
soft talk is the gateway drug to the rest of your language. Um, and so when someone says, "I think I might be able to be more consistent," how much certainty are they going to create within themselves? How much decision making power and prowess? Or it's almost like I'm avoiding the conversation, or maybe I need to spend some more time with my wife, or I guess I'd get better results if I was more consistent. So there's a handful of soft talk words. Here they are. If you got a pen, write them down, everybody. Guess, maybe, might, sort of, think, could, possibly, probably, hopefully, almost like. And here's my promise. If you cut your salt, well, there's two promises. I promise you these words are in your language. You're using them. And if you cut the use in half, you will double your confidence. You will sound different. You will sound more confident and certain. It will decrease your level of anxiety, which is a flavor of stress. My favorite quote on um, anxiety, indecision, they're both the same thing, really. My favorite quote about indecision: I prefer the fear of making the wrong decision to the terror of indecision. And so you'll change your words, change some of those words. You'll change the stories you tell yourself, and inevitably you'll change your identity, your mindset, the story you tell yourself, and you'll like the way it feels, and you'll feel it immediately. And then you'll go, wow, that guy with an impressive beard for 16 years old, he was serious. I am serious, and I'm sincere. I'd highly recommend taking those words out of your language and watch what happens.
Me personally, like I told y'all earlier, when I took that vocabulary thing, and I was listening to I was listening to those clips, and I was listening to the way that Mark was breaking it down, everything he was talking about right now, in a detail. And I'm thinking about all the way I've been talking and trying to express myself to people, and and it consciously made me from that time from when I took that, it consciously made me reevaluate almost it felt like every sentence in the way I communicate with anybody. And I'm dead ass serious because it's like once you know the importance of it, you know what I'm saying? And the way that you're trying to convey and you're trying to be as serious as an individual, you know what I'm saying? You have to, like Mark said, it's confidence. That confidence. Look at somebody in the eye and be like, yo, I can do this, whatever the case may be. Not no, just like Yoda was like, ain't no, what do you say? Ain't no try, only do. You know what I'm saying? I got this. Let's make it rock. You know what I'm saying? And you think that you have that, you think you got that machismo, being a martial arts, and all this kind of stuff. But nah, man, it's like lyrical jujitsu. You know what I mean? Like for real, yeah, word jujitsu, lyrical jujitsu. It's an art to words, man. And then I didn't really realize that aspect until I really started, you know, reading. I mean, watching those lectures, man. So that stuff is real as it can get, man. So, Allison, what is the biggest takeaway? I'm gonna kind of like I want everybody to kind of answer this question too in their own right, dealing with it. But your biggest takeaway as far as dealing with the end result of somebody that read your book, you know what I'm saying? What is it that you want them, the vision of you would like them to be after they read it, as
Hmm.
far as far as like where, yeah, I'll let you fill in the blank.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten a lot of great feedback from the book already, and it's exceeded my expectations. The way people are using the book
Mm-hmm.
and enjoying it. So the key word is enjoying.
Mm-hmm.
And my expectation for people or wish that they enjoy the book and really experience it and take it in slow and
Mm-hmm.
reflect in their lives so they can make the changes that they need to make their life better. I don't know exactly what's right for everybody. I don't know their dream. Only they
Mm-hmm.
know that. So
Yeah.
the book is a tool to help them get there, to help them know
Yeah.
themselves enough to know themselves better so that they can realize themselves and realize their dream. So
Mm-hmm.
those are and I've gotten great feedback and that's happening and that's been really amazing to hear, and some of it I'm really surprised about. And
Mm-hmm.
I've had people say, oh, I just like pick a chapter each day and read it and reflect on it. I
That's
think
what I
that's
did.
lovely. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's really the intention I had, was just to enjoy it. And because it's my way of giving to people, giving the gift of knowing themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Mark, same thing. Like, what like when you teach when you're coaching these individuals, like what is your when you give them their black belt or whatever when they finish the thing, what do you expect? I'm not expecting the right word. What are you hoping that these individuals learn from you that they can pass on and give give after the fact?
As I've said previously, it's the dismantling of the victim mentality.
Mm-hmm.
It's the unlocking of the breath, and it's the inevitable recognition that I'm more powerful than I thought I was.
Quite simple. I love it. Mike, when somebody watches your documentary, you know what I mean? They look at it, they take it in. What do you hope they get out of it? Mhm. Yeah, and just like the title I was on, if you win, we all win. And just me, just being at the point of, just being, like I said before, being around the globe, meeting people with many different avatars and seeing good people and bad people and people in the middle either going in the right direction, just seeing humans living life, this human experience. I guess I'll start with Mark because I'll go back around. But how do you, from what you see, what's happening in the world right now, and the people that you're around, teaching these people, what do you think the direction of humanity is going?
Uh, there's a bifurcation. There's a there's a polarization. There are certain people that um, want to become more powerful creators.
Mhm.
Um, they want to take responsibility for their story, their actions. They want to better themselves. Um, there's a whole other subset of people that are so they're getting. Peter Ragnar said it. He said you're either getting better or you're getting bitter. There's a group of people that are getting better. There's a group of people that are and celebrating the victim mentality. It's the victim Olympics. It's whoever's got the worst story wins the medal of the day, and that's where they're getting their attention and social credit from, and that's being promoted. It, and it's a weaponized conversation, in my opinion. Um, and it inevitably leads to transhumanism. Now that we got that on the table,
Yeah,
uh,
no, that's real talk, man. I'm happy you
yeah,
said that.
yeah, because here's the deal. Unless we get a solar storm or a cosmic a comet strikes the Earth, technology is here to stay. Here's the math. Here's the really complicated math. Humanity plus technology plus the victim mentality equals the Borg from Star Trek. Okay, y'all remember that? Y'all remember the Borg? Those people
Yep, I
suck.
remember.
Yeah, they have no tans. No one's laughing. No one's cracking jokes. Nobody's dancing. They're probably growing babies in a lab somewhere. So no Humpty time. They got cords coming out of their necks, and they're controlled from some technocratic, omniscient source. It's a hive mind, and it looks like the biggest bust ever. Um, or humanity plus technology plus an architect mentality or a hero's mentality. We retain our humanity, and quite probably we go off into space and you know go on some adventures. So yeah, there's a
That's
lot at
real talk,
stake.
man.
It's real
That's real
talk. I
talk.
believe that
That's
shit
real
too.
talk, man. Me
I
too. I,
believe
I
that.
agree with you. I'm with you, man. Because they're lining it up right now, right in front of us. Actually, you know what I'm saying? They're
Oh yeah.
lining it right up. Yep.
Oh yeah.
That's real talk.
And our man Buckminster Fuller, he said it'll be a neck and neck race to the very end.
Hmm.
So the work that we do, the work that the time and attention that your audience gives to these conversations, the work that they're doing, it all adds up big
Hmm.
time. And I'm
Yeah.
suspicious that it's doing a lot more than we think it is.
Yeah. What you got, Allison? What you got? Which direction do you see humanity going? What are we going in the right direction? So we just what we got? What we got?
I have a very optimistic way of looking at it because I feel like we are raising consciousness. you know, yeah, and I've seen that future that Mark is talking about too. And it's like again, we can decide the direction we want to go in. as a collective, each through each person on an individual level. So each person has to take responsibility for themselves. So that's what it kind of brings in that victim mentality. Are you still playing that? Are you really empowering yourself and taking full responsibility for everything in your life? And that means everything. You can get pretty deep down that hole of everything, but it's even loving the things that you don't think you love, getting even to that point. So it's going to take a higher level of awareness from many people, and it's going to, but I honestly think it can happen pretty instantaneously. And then I think it might happen after that is we now are left to integrate that new way of being. And I think that's what's happening now, and I'm seeing it in a lot of people. I'm experiencing it myself. And the Schumann resonance has been going up and up and up, and going like crazy ever since 2020, which is the resonance of the frequency of the earth. Our bodies have to match that frequency, so that's why some people are having issues physically, and then amongst other things. And then, we also have the solar flares, which are also changing us. So we're actually changing on a physical level. And then that also is, we're also changing on an energetic level. So all these things are happening, but how, it's the awareness around that. And you might not need, it might be a realization all at once for many people. And then they have to, then depending on the work they've done on themselves, they'll have to work with that and through that, and then that's what we're here for, is to help those people through that journey. But I really do think that we are heading in a good direction. It's just very unknown right now because we're creating it right now.
Yeah, it's just it's really interesting to me just because of especially now, just like how much effort has been put on to derailing us as humanity to get to embrace the God consciousness. You know what I'm saying, and being able to manifest things in reality. It's just so much effort into making us go in the other direction. It's amazing to me. It's expected, of course, but it's just amazing to me. Mike, what you got? What you got on it? Where we going?
Thank you.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Self. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, and going back to the title and like everything, everybody's been, we all been the same. If you win, the individual, that individual that takes the time to be the best that individual that wants to ascend, that's doing everything they need to be to get to where they need to go. If you win, then we all win because we all meet on that timeline. You know what I mean? Of ascension. You know what I mean? And and we can bypass the cyborgs and all the transhumanism and all the stuff that could be on a separate timeline because of people wanting to be lazy. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to getting the work in to become a better person. You know what I mean? Like real talk, man. So, man, whew, tonight I'm so happy. We all come together. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy I was actually able to document this. And see, people don't see. People, we all know Mark, Allison. It's Mike. We all we all know how we roll. You know what I'm saying? But like y'all don't know, so that we had to put this. We had to share this with the rest of y'all because these conversations we have. What I'm saying, we're scratching the surface. Really. And I know in the future. What I'm saying. We'll do this again. We'll, deal with different subject, different topics, and whatever the case may be. But I want to thank all y'all for being great individuals, great people. You know what I mean? You know, I want to thank y'all for being the ones that are helping people get better again, help people just find how great they are and trying to make this place a beautiful place. I thank all y'all for that. And then go ahead and give y'all shout outs with all you got, Mark. I know you got the lifted. Go ahead. I can go ahead, Mark, first. Is that how they can
We
contact you, etc.
we have a website,
Mm-hmm.
enlifted.me. That's all the info about our level 1 through 3 certifications, coaching certifications, and then we put a lot of good information out on our Instagram account, IG account at Enlifted Coaches.
Allison, we got.
You can go to my website, finalythrivingbook.com. I also have a program called Finally Thriving Program. You can go to finalythrivingprogram.com, and a podcast called Integrate Yourself, and a new album coming out. It's on Bandcamp. You can find the link on my Instagram, which is Allison Pelot _.
All right, we got Mike. Yeah, I pretty much. I think I got all your main links in the description, so people can definitely reach out to you. Well, I just wanted to again thank y'all so much for being y'all, and for sharing this time and and all this good information with us, and what I'm saying, and I appreciate y'all, love y'all, all the love to you, your families, and all the good stuff. What I'm saying. So that's it on my end. We'll catch
Thank you.
y'all. Catch y'all maybe in a sometime in the middle of the year, something like that. We can have a reunion. You know what I'm saying?
Please
But
do. Yeah, let's do it.
yeah, it's good. All right, y'all.
Well,
That's it
thank
for
you.
me. PolkaDotRabbitPodcast.com. Go ahead, Nelson.
Bye, everybody. Great to see you. Thank you, Zoe.
All right. Peace and love, everybody. Y'all be good. Let me see. Okay, let me see.
Super fun, buddy. We'll be in
Yeah, man.
touch.
Indeed. Thank y'all.
Love you, dude.
Peace and love, my man. Peace and love.